You know, when it starts from marketing, you know, so many forms of marketing. You got inbound mail, you got live transfers, you know, you got outbound hunting for canceled files, you got past clients, you got referrals. So that's the marketing aspect to actually bring them towards you so that you can actually start the application, which then ultimately turns into a locked deal. And the reason why you have to understand that part is because that's actually the very first aspect of the system, right? And so we're fortunate because, yeah, we do get inbound traffic. Yeah, we do have the data to go out and outbound. But it's important that you understand the audience in which that group is, right? So the audience of someone calling in on a mailer for MI removal, you have to understand the conversation is not going to be the same as if someone called in for cash out, right? Or escrow balance refund, or because the mailer said 2.25% on the rate. You have to understand how to pivot and understand where that person is coming from, basically empathy. Because if you don't understand where they're coming from, then you're going to burn your time. And again, hence time management. So time management is a huge aspect because when you understand what every single department does, you're able to protect your time, right? So in other words, after we originate a loan, where do we send it to? A submission department, right? What does the submission department do? Spot check the file to make sure it's okay to go into processing. So that's their job, right? So they're basically the gatekeeper to processing, and I need to get this to processing so I can move on. Would it be worthy of my time to understand what is needed to get through that department? That is what I'm talking about, understanding how everything moves. The last thing you want to do is get stuck going back and forth with the submission department and justify why you're missing things. You work backwards. So in order to avoid that, you have to do what? Your task, your job, right? And there are so many things that need to be done to make sure a loan works. We already talked about that, it's the 4 pillars: income, credit, title, capacity. The more reps you do it, the more times you do it, it becomes like clockwork, right? But you have to do it. You can't just look at the board and say, fuck, I don't got a lock or a submission today, and everyone's saying, let's get a sub, and you know that you didn't spot check the income. You know that that W-2 is not even readable, right? They took a picture of it and you see in the background it's just shit, right? They took a picture with their phone, you can't even read it. Or worse yet, you can, but you never cross-referenced it to your application. So you didn't actually spot check it. You just said, okay, I got a pay stub, put it in, now I'm shooting it over, right? Because what happens is they have to filter it. So if they're gonna filter it and possibly kick it back, then I need to understand that process. So I know that I understand how to build a loan. I understand what needs to get passed and straight into processing. Because again, the top producers understand the value of their time and they don't want to stay stuck or stagnant, right? They want to do it efficiently. And that is a piece that really does set people apart. When you get to a point where you can literally send it to the STP department and have no concerns, right? You set up the right expectation up front, you'll get to a point where you'll get noticed, like, hey, we're setting up closing for this client. You're like, I don't remember talking to that client. It's like that, right? You set up the expectation, it's clean, it moves, it flies. And we're what, open to close right now, 2.5, 3 weeks? You understand the power of that? I continuously feed my pipeline, meaning I get files of processing and I can figure out how to do it on a daily basis. That's 1 per day. That's not even counting weekends. So if I could just do 1 per day, that's what, per month? 20, right? So 20 clean files with a margin of error of 25%, how much did I fund?
15.
Right. And if you did 15, and we use the example of 10, what was the income on that? About 23K, right? So it's not the income. I never focused on, because I knew it would follow. It's actually understanding the fucking process. Because when you understand the process, the money follows and you build momentum. But what happens is people don't understand the process. The time management is weak. And so the feeding of the system is very low, right? And so when you lose a deal or appraisal comes back low, you're like, fuck, that was one of my 3 loans in my pipeline. The problem is you only got 3 loans, right? It's not the problem of the appraisal is low, but still learn from it, still understand it.
Connected to SalesRemastered.